Hey guys, this is Chris from AndroidPIT.com, and you may remember this little guy, Motorola's Moto G. Bit of a low-cost revolution in the Android world last year when it came out, and now we have the second generation Moto G 2014. So we're going to put them side by side, see what's new, what's the same, and whether or not it's worth an upgrade. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to notice, of course, is that there's a bit of a size difference. We've gone a ½ inch bigger in the second generation Moto G on the left here. So this has a 5-inch screen, this has a 4.5-inch screen. You can also see that the same kind of saturated colors are used in both. They both have an LCD display, but you'll also notice that on the new Moto G, we also have these two speakers up the front, and they are actually stereo speakers on the front. On the old Moto G, we had just the one speaker on the back. If we flip them both over, you can see nothing too much has changed in terms of design styling. Everything's pretty much the same. Same sort of rubberized plastic on the back, which we like. And of course, they're both curved nicely as well. Headphone port up the top, along with the microphone, and micro USB charging down the bottom. So you can see straight away there's quite a big size difference here. We've got a ½ inch larger screen, but surprisingly the second generation Moto G is only a few grams heavier. But other than that, you can see we've got the same stock Android with a few Motorola features thrown in on top. And of course, everything is just as snappy as it was in the previous version. Part of the reason for that is because we've got the same processor, the same graphics processor, and the same internal storage options as in the first generation. However, you are still getting Android 4.4.4 KitKat, the latest version out, and of course you'll get the update to Android L or Lollipop or whatever it will be called in the very near future. So both are running a quad-core Snapdragon 400 clocked at 1.2 GHz, and both have the same amount of RAM, which is 1 GB. They also have the same size battery, just over 2000 mAh, which is really not that much, especially when you're considering that you've got a larger screen. So of course, battery is not going to be one of the primary reasons that you're going to pick up a Moto G original or a second generation Moto G. So why would you pick up the new one over the old one? Well, for starters, we have the stereo speakers up front. Motorola asked people what they wanted, and music was at the forefront. So now we have stereo speakers. Micro SD was also up there. So now the second generation Moto G has a micro SD card expansion slot. And the third thing that everybody said that they wanted was a bigger screen, which you can see we already have. However, it is a little bit watered down in terms of pixel density. Now when we flip the two phones over, you can also see there's another minor change. Obviously the speaker grille has moved to the front on the new Moto G, but the cameras are actually different as well. On the old Moto G we had a 5 megapixel sensor, on the new Moto G we have an 8 megapixel sensor. So if cameras are important to you and internal specifications and speed, that kind of thing, are not the biggest deal, then of course you're going to want to opt for the new one. However, the old one is obviously going to get some price drops now that the new generation is out. The new generation also has switchable back plate, so you don't have the Moto Maker program, but you can pop these off and put on any color battery cover that you like. So there's some very minor changes in the camera interface as well between the two generations. So we've got the same simple interface with our scroll wheel on the left here. Of course, in the new version, we have the resolution options for widescreen and standard, whereas in the old version, we only have the option between widescreen on or off. So if we take a look at some test photos on both devices, I'm not sure if you'll be able to pick this up on camera, but the Moto G second generation actually has a slightly brighter screen. Obviously you won't be able to see everything on screen here, but we'll have the full resolution photos in the description for you below. Obviously the Moto G 2014 has higher resolution camera, so it's going to have sharper results overall, which you can see when you zoom right in. It does, however, seem to be a little bit less contrasty than the previous version. If we take a look at these two macro shots, things are looking pretty similar. Outside, it's all pretty the same too, although again you can see that it's a little bit less contrasty than on the older Moto G. In low light, they both kind of suffer. You can't really see much of anything going on in this darkened room. Color is pretty good though on both, I have to admit. Taking some photos of some water droplets on the window, they both handled it really well. Focus was pretty good in both. But of course the color accuracy on the new Moto G is a little bit better, and everything's a little bit crisper even when you don't zoom right in. So when Motorola introduced the second generation Moto G, they told us that they wanted to do the same thing for the next billion users, and they realized that they pretty much got the recipe correct in the original Moto G. Everything else has been left pretty much the same. because Motorola understand that things like apps can be handled and updated through the Play Store, so there's no need to preload your phone with them. Stock Android with a few Motorola tweaks on top can be updated way faster than any other heavy manufacturer skin. These are the kinds of things that people want to see, and these are the kinds of things that Motorola is delivering. So while they completely changed the game with the Moto G, maybe they haven't managed to do the same thing with the new Moto G, but they've improved on something that was already almost perfect. So for the same price, $179.99 at launch, obviously the old Moto G, if you can live without a better camera and stereo speakers and micro SD, you can pick that up for a steal now if you keep an eye out on Amazon. However, if you're in the market for a new, cheap smartphone that will do everything you need it to do, you really can't go past the Moto G 2nd generation.